What's going on, guys? Bobby Betts Fights back for another week of breakdowns. This time we got UFC Paris. We got Spivak facing off against Gane in his home country. Should be a good one. Mixed bag of fights, honestly, going through it. A lot of new names, a lot of new faces. Getting some of the local talent over there in Paris, France, on the card to showcase their abilities. So we'll go ahead and run through it after I do a brief recap of last week. And yeah, we'll jump right into it and go through them all. So as always, follow me on the socials down the left-hand corner. As you can see, Bobby Betts Fights on Twitter, on YouTube, and at betmma.tips. So last week, UFC Singapore, we got back in the green, albeit a very small amount, about 0.16 units, but green is green, and that's what we love to see. So losing bets, the over 1.5 on the Chidi and Jokawani Michelle Jacek fight. Yeah, I mean, those two guys slugged it out. I thought that they would, I thought Chidi was a little bit more durable than he was, but Ola Jacek just bit down on the mouthpiece and did what he did. So, I thought I was getting slick there, but yeah, no. Ended in the first round. Ola Jacek by KO. So lost that one. Other one, Jarno Aarons, he dropped Choi in the second round and just went into his guard. And I don't know why. He landed a beautiful uppercut, cleaned his clock, but after that it was all Choi. So you give Jarno, I think two judges gave him the second, so 29-28. One gave it to Choi because he ended up on top for the majority of the round, 30-27. But yeah, was a little upset about that. But yeah, Choi was all over him except for that knockdown. But Jarno did have a chance to win that. And then the other one was Talia Santos, who came out guns a-blazing in the first round against Erin Blanchfield. And then in the second round got double underhooks and somehow ended up on bottom. Don't know how, but that was the deciding factor because she didn't have a gas tank in the third, and Blanchfield was able to cage push and just kind of outdog Santos in the third. So those are the losing bets. Winning bets, we had Billy Goff, who just outdogged Kinoshita. It's exactly what I thought would happen. Kinoshita ended up giving up, and he just was working the body. He's one to look out for. That was a plus 125 bet. And then we had Junior Toff over Parker Porter, who he cleaned his clock in the first round, just like his brother. Parker Porter's going to have nightmares to the last name Taffa for a long, long time. So that was a minus. I got him at minus 120. And then Anthony Smith against Ryan Spann. Ugliest fight you'll ever see in your life. Anthony Smith looked like absolute crap. Ryan Spann, I don't know what he was thinking after he heard Smith. He didn't go in for the kill, but thank you for being Ryan Spann once again, Ryan Spann. And Anthony Smith squeaked out the split decision. So that was plus money bet at 124. So basically, with the plus money hits, was able to eke out the juice on the losing bets. And yeah, that's where we stood. We got 0.32 units worth of profit. So we gave it back in Contender Series. But as it stands right now, for the year, still sitting at 16.28 units profit, which comes out to $814. So let's go ahead and jump into the card UFC Paris. We got some cheeky little plays, and yeah, should be a good one. So let's go ahead and pull that puppy up here. Boom, here we go. So taking a look at the first fight on the early prelims, we got Zara Farron facing off against Jacqueline Cavalcante. I mean, in this one, it's I think it's a catch weight at 140, but Cavalcante, younger, matches up well as far as size against Zara Farron. She has the speed advantage in this one. She has crisp strikes, and I like her leg kicks to all levels, especially the body really works it really well. Zara Farron, she always has a shot in the first round because she's got some pop in her hands, but she's very labored when she throws, and she just drops her hands. And Josephine, I don't know her name, Josephine Nunes, smallest featherweight you'll ever see in your life. I mean, she's just throwing with reckless abandon. She was landing that uppercut because Nunes kept ducking her head, but she's just leaving herself wide open with her hands down at her hips. She gets tired after about a round, and I think Cavalcante, if she can avoid being dropped, because she was dropped in her one loss, not dropped, I should say hurt in her one loss. She took a straight right down the middle in her PFL fight, was wobbled pretty hard, and was able to fight back. But I think if she can avoid that big shot in that first round, it's going to be all Cavalcante in the second and third. Wouldn't be surprised if she was able to get a finish late. So I'm going to take Cavalcante in that one. She's a huge favorite, pushing minus 400 at this point. So it's tough to go with Zara Farron. Would love to back someone in France, in their home country. But I mean, I think she's just too old. She's too slow. And yeah, she doesn't have the gas tank. So going with Cavalcante in that one. Next fight, we got Farid Basharat facing off against Clydeson Rodriguez. So in this one, I think Clydeson coming up to bantamweight is going to be tough. He can't really use his size like he used to at flyweight. Kind of an odd decision to move up, in my opinion. Farid Basharat, just poster boy for consistency, good distance management, very good takedown defense, very good takedown offense as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Basharat had a good amount of top control time in this fight. I think Clydeson can clip him with some wild shots, but Basharat's too good at even when he does get hit, he doesn't get hit clean. He can evade the shots. He can pump the jab. He is fairly low volume, but I think just being able to land those one-off pop shots and then being able to take the fight to the ground, he's just going to be able to outwork Clydeson. Wouldn't be surprised if he's able to outmuscle him on the ground and end up with a submission win late in the fight. I just don't think Clydeson. I think Clydeson's just in a rude awakening with the size disadvantage that he's going to be at, as opposed to what he was able to enforce his will down at flyweight. So going with Farid Basharat in this one. As far as the odds are concerned, I mean, Basharat's minus 400. Clydeson's a 3-1 dog if you like him, but I can't back the dog in this one. Don't have a play on it because Basharat's so blown out. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to bet against Basharat because you know exactly what you're going to get is going to be consistency. So going with him in the matchup. Next one, we got a women's bantamweight fight. We got Jocelyn Edwards versus Nora Cornell. Nora Cornell making her UFC debut. Her past fights, her level of competition has not been good at all. In one of her most recent fights, she was losing the fight on the feet for the longest time. And then her opponent, I don't know if it was an oblique kick or something that Cornell did, but it ended up popping the knee of her opponent and she wasn't able to continue. So the fight just ends up being waved off. She's got a Muay Thai background. She's pretty heavy on her front foot. Not the greatest amount of volume. She can grapple a little bit. She shows a little bit of prowess and obviously has been working on that, being, such a heavy Muay Thai background, trying to work on that deficiency. On the other side, Jocelyn Edwards, who surprisingly made weight. Props, Jocelyn, for making weight for once in your life. Has been on the winning end of some split decisions recently. Her fighting style is just, a lot of volume. She's going to just try to throw one more punch than you, even if it doesn't land. Just the optics with the judges, it just seems that they like her fighting style and they kind of eke out these rounds and give it to her in those scenarios. She is liable to getting taken down. I don't think that's going to be the case in this fight. I don't think Cornell's that good with her takedown offense, and I don't think she is that good on the mat. So in this fight, I think it's going to play out on the feet. I think Edwards, just with the push kicks up the middle and just being more active than Cornell, is going to be able to take it. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of work up against the fence and a lot of clinching. And I think Jocelyn Edwards can definitely win that battle as well. As far as the odds are concerned, they're aligned pretty close. I mean, Edwards, as it stands right now, minus 118, on some books, minus 115. She was right around minus 122. There was some money that came in on Cornell early, but it looks like we're getting a little buyback on Jocelyn Edwards, but it's pretty much a pick 'em. I like Jocelyn Edwards in this fight, and I got a bet on her. One unit at minus 110 is what I was able to get her in at. So like Jocelyn Edwards a lot in that matchup against Nora Cornell. I'd rarely say that because I'm not a huge Jocelyn Edwards fan, but I just think her fighting style matches up well against Cornell, especially with a debuting fighter who hasn't fought really anyone leading up to it. Next fight, we got a welterweight belt. We got Angelusa facing off against Reese McKee. So another interesting fight. Angelusa, coming off a win against AJ Fletcher, was just able to really work the striking in that matchup, and then was able to come back after withstanding a second win from AJ Fletcher in the second round. Was able to control him pretty handily in the third and win that fight. Before that, took a short notice bout against the sniper Monir Laziz and just got outworked on the outside for a 30-27, pretty convincing loss. I mean, it was a short notice fight, but Laziz did a good job with the distance management. Lusa wasn't able to work in the takedowns. The third round, he was able to get it going a little bit and was able to trade with Laziz, but Laziz was still getting the better of the majority of the exchanges. So good fight in Lusa. Pretty consistent guy. Can work the grappling when he's got a grappling advantage, and on the feet, pretty stationary and is willing to counter strike, but he's not like a 1-for-1 kind of guy. He is liable to getting out volumed, which I think Reese McKee actually has a shot in this fight. A lot of people are counting him out because of his past performances in the UFC, but I mean, he got ran through by Khamzat Chimaev, so no slack there. I'm not going to hold that one against Reese McKee. I mean, everyone gets ran through by Khamzat Chimaev except for Gilbert Burns. And Gilbert Burns is a title challenger. So, and then we fought Alex Morono, and he just got out volumed. Morono is kind of an odd fight. He's a very good boxer. He just was able to touch McKee, and he was just pumping that jab. And McKee was just eating him, just stationary with his head. In this one, I think McKee can pump the volume and keep Angelusa on his back foot, keep him guessing a little bit. I like the reach advantage, and I like the height that Reese McKee has, kind of similar to Monir Lazez. I would say he's a little bit taller, maybe even a bit more lanky and rangy. I think Angelusa can have success in the grappling, but McKee in his last stint with Cage Warriors and his last couple of fights against Burlinson and the wars that he's had to go through in his last 3 wins against some top-notch competition in Cage Warriors showed that he's kind of got that has rounded out his skills a little bit better. And I think he's had to go through a lot of adversity, especially in that Burlinson fight where he almost got submitted, almost got ground and pound, and was able to come back and win that fight in the 3rd round. You know, he's faced that adversity not only in the UFC, but in Cage Warriors. So I think you're just going to see a better version of Reese McKee, someone who's not afraid to go into the fire, march forward, and, you know, just do what he needs to do to get a win. So with him being the dog right around plus 140, I'm going to take him for 1 unit. Angelusa, if you like him on the comeback, he's sitting right around minus 170. Line hasn't moved all that much. Going with Reese McKee in that fight. Moving on, we got Taylor Lapilus facing off against Callan Logren. It's another interesting fight, clash of styles, I should say, because Logren is just more of a one-dimensional kind of guy. He's a wrestler, power wrestler, good ground and pound, get you down to the ground, pummel your face in. He's making his UFC debut. He's fought a very low level of competition, except for his most recent fight. But everyone else has really been, we're talking about guys who have records. His first 2 fights were against an 0-42 opponent and like a 1-46 guys, just those infamous guys on Tapology that are known for obviously fixing fights and have those notifications on their profile. So, really, as far as like actual fights, Logren's probably fought about 6 of them, and one of them's been against solid competition. Where Lapilus, on the other hand, is a former UFC veteran who went 3-1 in the promotion and has been just running through guys in Aries FC and has a very well-rounded skill set. He's a very good striker, very good at distance management. Really the same kind of distance management of like a Farid Basharat that we spoke about. He's just able to manage his distance, and he's got very good takedown defense. And when he's on the feet, he's just going to beat you up. I mean, in his past performances, you go back and look, I mean, he's fought in the Nate Maness fight. He just punished the body, ended up finishing that fight via push kick in the 3rd round. And in his previous Aries FC fight, I mean, he's just able to find the holes in his opponent's guard and just land strikes continuously and put them down. I mean, I think he's just too consistent of a fighter for Logren. I think it's really tough fight for Logren his first time out. I don't think he's going to have the success that he's used to with the takedowns. I think Lapilus is going to be able to get back up and make him work. Logren's, I think, been the distance 1 time. I think Lapilus, if this fight does draw out and he doesn't clip Logren, because Logren is liable to getting hit, I think it's just going to be a pace that Logren can't keep up. And I think Lapilus is going to be able to get to him late, either finish him late or fight goes the distance. If Lapilus doesn't starch him early, I really do think if he can manage the distance, it's going to give Logren problems. And if it's standing for any considerable amount of time, I mean, Lapilus will take his time. He's not just going to rush in, but it's just going to be, constantly landing on Logren. So I'm going with Taylor Lapilus in this fight. As far as the line's concerned, he's right around minus 170 as it stands right now. Logren's right around plus 140. Money came in on Logren, which I thought was a little odd. So Lapilus was sitting right around minus 150, but there's some buyback on him. So he's sitting right around minus 170, minus 175 now. So to round out the prelims, I got Taylor Lapilus getting the win over Callan Lundgren. We go on to our main card. We got Morgan Charrier versus Manolo Zucchini. Pretty wide line in favor of Charrier, who has had a nice little run with Cage Warriors and fought some top-notch competition at minus 355. Zucchini, big underdog at plus 280. In this one, I mean, I think Charrier, he's got an 18-9 record. He's got about 7 split or majority decisions to his record, to his name. And that's because he's a little hesitant on the feet. He's got that big right hand, and he just seems to holster it and just kind of is willing to just kind of walk his opponent down, but not really throw it. So I think the low volume really does get to Cherrier. He's got a good background in judo. He's a very well-rounded guy. He gets, I'd say his bread gets buttered on the feet for sure with the knockout power that he has, but he can take it to the mat. And he shows good wrestling as well, very well-rounded, where Manolo Zucchini, on the other hand, very good striker. I think he goes to the grappling a little bit too much for my liking. I think he can strike to all levels. He's not afraid to strike with anyone. He's a very tough opponent. And yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty solid fight. I can't back Cherrier with a bet at minus 355. And honestly, I think the line's just way too wide for Zucchini, especially with Cherrier going to a decision so often in his career. I could definitely see this one going to the scorecards, and Zucchini definitely is going to be able to outvolume Cherrier. I think it's just going to boil down to, can Cherrier land damaging shots, which he absolutely can. But if it's one of those ones where he's just kind of looking in a mirror and Zucchini's just constantly touching him, he can definitely win rounds and he can definitely eke out a decision against Cherrier. So I don't have a bet on this one because I think it's going to be super close. I'm going to back Cherrier in this, but I'm not confident because I do think Zucchini is low-key a dog in this one. I don't have a bet on it. Going to stay away. But if you like Zucchini, I mean, plus 280, that's a nice little number you got there. Moving on to our next fight at featherweight, which is going to be the most boring bout on the card. I'm going to just say it at face value. I mean, it's a horrible fight. I mean, William Gomez is facing Giannis Gamori, and it's just two guys that are a spitting image of one another, and it's going to be a pretty pathetic fight because both guys are on the feet, are going to stand in front of each other. Gomez has really good movement. He's an awkward fighter. He kind of just pops shots at you, and he's able to move around the outside of the ring. He's extremely strong for the division, and he's just able to avoid takedowns. He will take his opponent down and lay on top of them for that top control. But yeah, I mean, he's just a tough guy to figure out. So by the time you do, you feel like you're not really losing the fight because he hasn't really hit you that much. He'll hit you with some hard leg kicks. He'll hit you with some one-off shots, but he's not going to throw in combination. And then by the third round, it rolls around and you're still trying to figure him out. And he's already banked 2 rounds. Gamori, on the other hand, cut from the same cloth. I mean, he's a guy who's going to throw 1 to 2 shots. He's going to try to outpoint you. He's going to try to get ahead. He will work in his grappling when he can if he thinks he's got the advantage, and he's just going to try to win a decision unless you make a mistake and leave yourself wide open, which Gomes isn't going to do. This fight is going to go to a decision. Gomes is going to eke him out because he's going to throw the more damaging shots because he does throw hard shots, and he will finish his 1 to 2 punch combinations with a kick, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor against Gamori. That's about all I have to say about this fight. I think it's going to be a horrible one. If you want to bet it, I mean, Gamori is sitting at plus 170, plus 180 on some books. Gomes minus 205, minus 215 on some books. But yeah, I'm going to back William Gomez in this one. I think he's better than Gamori, but it's going to be a super boring fight. Next fight, we got Volkan Ozdemir facing off against Bogdan Guskov. I mean, Guskov has just been an absolute can crusher over in Europe. And really, the one time that he's fought someone decent, he ended up getting knocked out and was just eating jabs and just did not look like he'd take damage well. He is a very good hammer and awful nail. Volkan Ozdemir, on the other hand, savvy vet. He has shown that age is father time's pretty much catching up with him a little bit in his last time out against Krylov, but he was having a ton of success early in that fight against Krylov and was just hitting him with hooks, good combinations, and he did get clipped a couple of times, started to slow down late in the fight, but he is still a dangerous fighter, especially a light heavyweight. He's very well-rounded, good takedown defense. He can mix in his own takedowns if he wants, but I don't think he's going to want. He's not going to want to do this in this fight. I really do think he's going to be able to pick Bogdan Guskov apart. I think Guskov's going to be in for a rude awakening. His one weapon is that straight right that he throws. It's just a 1-2, a 1-2, or his throw that straight right pretty naked. And I think Ozdemir is going to be able to pick up on it, avoid the big shot. And I think he's just going to be landing in combination against Guskov. He'll be able to pump the jab as well against Guskov, snap that head back. And I really do think Guskov's going to go down pretty early in this one. I got Volkan Ozdemir. I like him a lot. I got him at minus 170, and I got him for 1.5 units on that minus 170 bet. As it stands right now, he's right around minus 185, minus 180 on some books. If you like Guskov, who is a popular dog this week, he's right around plus 150, plus 154. Next fight, we got Benoit Saint Denis against Thiago Moises, which is going to be a great fight. I mean, it's tough for Saint Denis in this fight. I know he's a popular pick on this card, but honestly, his bread gets buttered on the ground. Thiago Moises also, his strength is on the ground with jiu-jitsu. So it's really going to boil down to, does Benoit Saint Denis have the strength to keep Thiago Moises down and be able to win on those advantageous positions? Because I don't think he's going to want to keep it standing. I know he's confident in his striking, but I think Thiago Moises has a little bit more crisp striking on the feet. So if they find themselves striking for extended periods of time, I think Thiago Moises is going to win the majority of those exchanges. Do I think he can drop Saint Denis and KO him clean on the feet? No, I don't think he can, but I think he can definitely put together enough volume and find Benoit Saint Denis' chin more than Benoit Saint Denis can find Moises's. And I'm not saying by chin that he's going to put him out, but I think Benoit Saint Denis has some holes in the stand up. And I know he's brought that leg kick into play his last time out against Bontarin, which is a huge win for Benoit Saint Denis. But honestly, I think Thiago Moises just ekes him out a little bit on the feet. So what it boils down to is, Benoit Saint Denis is super strong, very good wrestler. He's fought top-notch competition outside of the UFC and has only fought strong guys in the UFC. Thiago Moises, on the other hand, is this cut from the same cloth, has only fought just absolute strong opponents in the UFC. I mean, you look at some of the guys that he's fought. I mean, you're looking at, Michael Johnson, you're looking at, Julio Arce, you're looking at, I don't know if he fought Arce. I might be wrong on that. Anyway, we'll continue. Fought Joel Alvarez, fought Islam Makhachev. I mean, he's really fought the who's who at lightweight, and he's a veteran. Benoit Saint Denis, I'd say he's had a couple of UFC fights under his belt, but I mean, the guys that he's fought, I mean, Zaleski dos Santos, he got battered in that fight. But other than that, I mean, Gabriel Miranda making his UFC debut. I think it was Nicholas Stolze. And then also in his most recent performance, Bontarin. I mean, the level of competition, I got to side with Thiago Moises here. So it's going to be tough. I think Moises is super live as the dog. I mean, Saint Denis right around minus 155, minus 162. Moises plus 136. I'm going to edge Benoit Saint Denis. I'm staying away from this fight. I think it's just a little bit too volatile. I think Thiago Moises definitely has passed the victory. He can submit Benoit Saint Denis. He can get up. He can win the stand-up. But I think Benoit Saint Denis is just very strong. If he mixes in the takedowns and he can stay on top of Thiago Moises, that's going to make Moises more hesitant on the feet. And I think he can win a decision. I'm not sure anyone's getting finished in this fight, but I got Benoit Saint Denis, but I'm staying away from it. Co-main event, we got Manon Fiorot facing off against Rose Namajunas. I mean, Rose Namajunas, it really depends on what Rose you're going to get. When she's a dog, she really does show out, which is what, you really do got to factor that in. I mean, when against Weili Zhang, I mean, everyone didn't expect that out of Rose. I mean, let's be honest, that step in little pendulum kick right to the jaw to drop her and then finished her with ground and pound within, 2 minutes of the fight. Just a spectacular performance for her. Next time out against Weili Zhang, was able to get that decision win, just an all-around solid performance. But, you look at the Carlos Esparza fight, she fought a good game plan to try to keep her distance, but she just didn't do enough at all. She just kind of stayed out there and didn't really touch her. And Esparza basically won by being aggressive because that's all that happened in that fight. So it's kind of a mixed bag with Rose. I think she's definitely a tough opponent. Moving up the flyweight against Manon Fiorot, who's just a gigantic flyweight, or in my opinion, a huge flyweight, who's very strong and who has just pounded on straw weights before. Just looking at Tabitha Ritchie, I know she's a smaller, on the smaller side of 115, but honestly, I think strength is going to come into play here. Money's coming in on Fiorot as well. She's up to minus 205. Rose is a plus 170 dog. I'm staying off of the fight. I think Manon Fiorot can land the more impactful shots on the outside against Rose, but Rose is very quick, and she wouldn't be surprised if she was able to land more volume. But I think Fiorot is going to land some more damaging shots. She's going to be able to mix it up, and I think it's going to be pretty close with the strikes. But what it's going to boil down to is Fiorot is going to throw with a lot more power, and I think Rose is going to wear a lot more damages than Fiorot, and Fiorot is going to be able to win the rounds there. So I'm going to go with Manon Fiorot to get the win against Rose Namajunas, but don't like her at those odds for sure, especially with Rose Namajunas being such a dog. Next fight, we got Cyril Gane facing off against Sergey Spivak. Cyril Gane, hometown guy. He's got everything going for him. Sergey Spivak, he's got one advantage in this fight, and it's the wrestling. If he can get his hands around Cyril Gane and he can get him down to the mat, it's going to be mat return after mat return. He's very savvy on the ground. He's very good at controlling. He's got good ground and pound, and he's got good submissions. So Cyril Gane coming off those 2 losses where wrestling was played a huge factor into those losses. Francis Ngannou being able to take him down and stay on top of him, and then John Jones getting him to the ground and then win him via that weird guillotine that no one thought he had cinched up. It's going to be a real test for Cyril. He's got to show that he's got that takedown defense in his arsenal and to be able to keep it standing. So in this fight, I mean, Spivak, he has against guys who are athletic like Aspinall. I mean, it's very similar to Cyril Gane. If he's able to manage distance and hurt Spivak like Aspinall did, I mean, Spivak is liable to getting knocked out. I think Gane can definitely do that. I think Gane's going to be a lot more patient than an Aspinall and a little bit more hesitant to get in close. He doesn't like to trade in the pocket. He does not like those exchanges. He's going to look to keep it extremely long and use his length. I think Spivak is going to have to take some chances, but I think he can get in close. And if I think he gets his hands around Gane and gets him down, even if he doesn't keep him down, he's going to be able to gain that confidence, and Gane's going to be constantly worried about it. And yeah, I think if he can get him down once, I think he can get him down twice, 3 times, as many times as he needs to eventually get the finish. In this one, I got Sergey Spivak at plus 150. The line's moving against me. It says plus 145 on the screen. He's plus 155, moving closer to plus 160. So Gane minus 180, minus 190. I'm going with Spivak. I don't love the bet. I'm going to put a unit on it for plus 150, but I just think Cyril has showed the holes in his grappling game, and I think Spivak is just such a plus wrestler, and I don't think he gets enough credit for being the wrestler that he is. People are saying he's not an Ngannou, he's not a John Jones. Yeah, he's not an Ngannou because he doesn't have the striking, obviously the power behind it. He's not a John Jones because he's not a threat on the feet, similar to Francis Ngannou, but when he gets his hands around you, I mean, he's got that polar bear death grip, and he can keep you down. It's just going to be mat return. It's a very demoralizing and very suffocating style of wrestling. So I got to go with the guy that has that in his back pocket in this matchup, Sergey Spivak. So that rounds it out for UFC Paris. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. As always, follow me on the socials at Bobby Betts Fights, Twitter, YouTube, BetMMA.tips. Hope we cash some tickets this weekend. Hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoy yourself on Saturday. Bobby Betts signing off.